Hey y'all, welcome, and today I'm going to be showing you something. We're going to be doing it for the first time together. And so I'm going to start out with a project that I'm going to be using paper clay. Now I've only used this clay once before on a small object with a cookie cutter type pattern. And so now what I'm going to do today is I want to use this rolling pin that's embossed. It has a really beautiful design on it, and I'm going to be using that as to decorate the clay and then putting it at the bottom of a tray. So let's see how this is going to turn out. So I know, because I pre-recorded this, I know how it's turning out, but this is part 1 of 2. We're going to do half of the project today in this recording, and then the next day I'll post part 2. And so what we're doing is just trying to get all that clay, the pieces that I picked out, I'm trying to just piece them all together. And by doing that, it's just going to make sure that I don't have any air bubbles, and then I'm just working with one piece of clay. And so it's just trying to soften it up a little bit, and I'm just making sure that I press on it, knead it, and just work it. Work that clay, girl. Okay, and then what I'll use to roll it out is a regular rolling pin. So I'm just making sure that I just have one piece, just squishing it all together. And it is a little firm, and I don't know if it's because it's been sitting in the package a while. It's not dried out, it's a harder clay. So again, I might use a different clay next time. I might start experimenting with clays. But for this project, paper clay, that's what we're using. And so I'm just putting a little cornstarch out because I want to make sure that the rolling pin does not stick to the clay. And I am putting it, so it's just cornstarch. So I am putting it on a glass mat, and I don't want to use that because I'm afraid it will stick. So I'm putting a piece of parchment paper over the glass mat. And all you're going to do is roll it out like you roll out pie dough. I'm just rolling out cookie dough, pie dough, just dough in general, pizza dough. I'm just rolling it out, putting a lot of pressure, making sure I have an even piece of clay that I'm working with, and that it's big enough for the tray, the inside tray that I am going to place it in. So I need to get this thin because this rolling pin that has the pattern on it, the pattern's thin. It's about not even 1/8 of an inch thick on the rolling pin. So I'm putting some cornstarch on there, and this is the first time I'm trying it, so we're going to see how this works. So I'm just going to roll it, and you don't want to move it because then you'll break your pattern. So I'm just rolling it, and see it's sticking together. It's sticking on the rolling pin a little bit, and I'm pushing and rolling it. And what I'm seeing is it doesn't look like the pattern is pressed into it very well. So I am going to use the rolling pin, the original one, smooth it out, and we're going to start over. So we're just going to make sure that we get that first pattern that I rolled in there out, and making sure that it's even. And if you have any cracks, you can always piece another piece of clay on it, or add a little water and pinch it together. So there, now I see I need to put more pressure. So see what I'm doing? It's lifting up. See, it's lifting. So you want to make sure you put a lot of pressure. See how I'm using my palm to do that? Putting pressure from the center. And if you don't lift the rolling pin up, you can actually roll it back and forth. It stays in that pattern until you get it to the, so you can see it well enough. And then once I do that, I will then cut the tray, and I'm using the bottom of the tray because the clay is going to sit inside that tray. So I'm using the bottom of the tray as my mold, and I'm just making sure that I have enough room, that I rolled out enough clay. I just barely made it, Again, this is the first time I'm using clay for this type of project other than just a mold. I'm just experimenting, and so I want you to see, so you can see it, how I did it, and you don't have to make the same mistakes that I make. We're going to learn together, and then the next time we do this, it'll be better, right? So I'm just using a paint palette knife, to just a palette knife to cut or mark around the tray. So I'm trying to mark it so I know where to cut. Now, had I known in advance, I can tell you now that there is going to be some shrinkage on this tray. I lost about 1/4 of an inch all the way around, maybe just, yeah, about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And had I known that, I might have cut this a little larger, but hindsight, at least I know this now to allow for shrinkage, and then I wouldn't have to use something to hide that on the tray. But I do have something I'm going to use, and so it should turn out pretty well. So I'm just taking away the excess. Now, when you have excess clay, just put it back in the package. If you let it dry out too long, you're not going to be able to do that. And right now I'm just taking a little piece of clay and I'm patching up where it was a little thin and tore. So now I'm just taking the extra clay and, come on, Lulu, put it back in the bag. What are you doing? So now I'm just going to see if it fits inside the tray, see how I like it. And then before we paint the tray we're going to first prep it. We're going to give it a primer of Dixie Belle Bonding Boss. That's what I like to use. There's all different kinds of things that they have that you can primer with, but I want to give it a primer because I'm putting the painting over metal, and I feel you get a nicer paint application if you use a primer on metal or glass. So there you go. Now I'm putting it where it belongs. I'm putting the excess back in the bag. Good girl, don't waste. And then after I do that, then we're going to glue. I thought I was going to put it back in the bag. I guess I'm not. So I'm going to glue it down first. So I'm just using an all-purpose adhesive. I think I got this at Dollar Tree. I like this one. I forget what it's called, but Aleene's, I think it is. But I like it. It works really well. So I'm just going to put that all on the bottom of the tray, and then I'm going to put the clay on top of it. And I think when my thought process of doing it while it was wet was that I wouldn't get the shrinkage that I got, but I got it anyway. So, but I had very few cracks. If you get any cracks while it's drying, kind of keep an eye on it. You can just get a little bit of water on your finger and then rub that crack, seal it together. Just kind of pinch it a little together. But I have a design here, so you have to be really careful. You can also, if it's too big of a crack, get an extra piece of clay and kind of patch it in there and just smooth it with a little water. So it's pretty good. Okay, so you see that fits in really nice right now. I am going to get that 1/4 minute shrinkage, but when teaser, you'll see what we do with it on the next video. So again, this is part 1. And hey, if you like what you see, go ahead and hit the like button or give me a heart, thumbs up, whatever you see, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell a friend, whatever you can do to help me build my page, I would appreciate it. So anyways, I'm just cleaning up, making sure it looks good, putting a little water on my fingers and just smoothing the edges and fixing what I don't feel is sufficient, because once it dries, you really don't have a lot of things that you can do to change it. So fix it while you can, while it's wet. And I'm staying away from the pattern when I'm doing that. It's just basically on the edges, so that's going to be fine. I'm just going to add in a little water just to smooth it and get it so it's flat in there, so I don't get any curl or cracking on the edges. That's what I'm trying to do. In my mind, it seems like that would be the best thing to do. Now, I am going to be putting a coat of the primer on, and I will be fast forwarding through this video while I do that so that you don't have to sit there and watch me paint, but you will see me paint, but you're going to see me paint fast. Now, I will, after we're done recording and this primer coat, you're supposed to, with this Dixie Belle product, you're supposed to wait 4 hours between coats of primer. So what I'm going to do is put one coat on there, and once I get that coat on there, I'll put another coat on off video. And I am going to fast forwarding this. I'm just putting the Dixie Belle primer on. And as you can see, I'm using my heat tool to open it, because sometimes the lids get stuck on things like this, on a primer, on paint lids. And it's the easiest way to get them open is to apply heat. And that heat tool is pretty darn hot. So if that doesn't help loosen it, I don't know what will. So come on, I got a little elbow grease in there, and I got it open. All right, so there it is, Bonding Boss, Dixie Belle Bonding Boss. And again, I'm going to put one coat on now, and then we'll set it aside to dry, and then I'll be back with a part 2 video where we finish it, where we embellish it, paint it, and decorate it. So give it some thought of what you think I might do to this as far as colors and how I'm going to enhance the pattern. And I'm also thinking I might put some, resin inside the bottom of the tray, just to guarantee it, it has a good seal with the clay and all. And I think it probably would make it look really nice. So we'll see. And this tray could be used for many things. If I put the resin in, we'll be able to use it for serving. It would be food safe resin, so we should be fine. So again, it doesn't take a lot of this Bonding Boss to coat. It really covers nice, and when it dries, it has the smoothest surface. And I'm not a Dixie Belle representative. I'm just sold on the product. That's all I can say. But I know there are other primers. This is just the one that I prefer. So I'm just making sure I don't have a lot of streaks or any blobs of the primer in any spots. And it didn't take a lot. And there you go. So that's what we have. And come back for part 2, where we see what we're going to do with this tray. But today we just worked with some clay. We worked with a embossed rolling pin. There you go. I hope to see you back. Thank you.